All right, guys. Hey, sorry I couldn't be in today, but figured I'd go ahead and do this last construction for you and let you guys be able to see how it's supposed to be done. It's not a very complex one or difficult one. In all reality, it only takes a couple steps, so hopefully you should be fine with it and we shouldn't have any issues. The biggest thing here, we're trying to construct a parallelogram that is given, or when you're given two consecutive sides, and all that means is if we have, say, one side here, and then let's say the side up top. Ooh, there we go. All right, so that's what we're talking about. One side, two side. These are consecutive because they're right next to one another. To start out, we need to go ahead and give these points names, as you might expect. So we got A, B, C, and so that means that we're given sides AB, don't forget the segment over top, and BC. And they're set up as angle ABC. And this is what you'd be given on the test, is this setup right here with two sides that form an angle. Both these sides are segments, so we don't have to really worry about anything as far as creating that ourselves. It's already given to us to start, and that's what you'll get. The key thing here is we want to go ahead and somehow create a line segment down here that is of equal length to the line segment up top, because parallelogram, these opposite sides have to be congruent. They also have to be parallel, which is why it's called a parallelogram, because opposite sides are parallel. That's the definition of the shape. And believe it or not, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that it's a quadrilateral. It has nothing to do with the fact that opposite sides are congruent. Those things are actually byproducts of the original definition, which is just a shape where, or well, it does have to be a quadrilateral, but it's just a byproduct of opposite sides being parallel. And through proof writing, which is something we'll do in the near future, we will show that if opposite sides are parallel, then the opposite sides have to be congruent as well. But that's something we'll save for when we cover it in that point. So the key thing here to start out, like I said, we want to create a segment down here that is congruent and parallel to the segment up top. Similarly, we also need to create a segment over here that is congruent and parallel to the segment over here, AB. So that's what we need. We need, and let's say we're going to put some point D out here. We need line AD to be parallel. Okay, that's what that symbol means, is parallel. And congruent to segment BC. All right, that's what we need. We also need for that segment CD that will appear out here to be the same thing with respect to AB. So we also need segment CD to be parallel and congruent to segment AB. So hopefully that helps you understand kind of what we're trying to do as far as the definition of a parallelogram and how we can go about doing this. One method here is to try and create the parallel lines. So try and create the line that's parallel to BC down here, and then the line that's parallel to AB over here. And what I found out is that this construction is much more complex. It requires us to do the copying an angle, and it requires us to construct parallel lines, both of those twice. And that's something that we found to be just a little bit tricky when we did those in class. So I'd rather show you a way that kind of leads us away from those, but still stays true to what this is, and that is creating a segment that is going to be the same length as over here and parallel, just maybe through a different method. And in doing that, what I found was we can really just go ahead and take our center here. All right. If we put our center on A, well, sorry, we need to put our center up here on B. My bad. If we want to create the line segment down here that is the same length as AB or as BC, all right, we want to find this segment. We want the same length as the one it's parallel to, which is BC. We need to go ahead and figure out exactly how long this segment is. So we come in and we try and find that one hole that is going to match up the best. So we got really 3. Like if I'm looking over here, you notice it's in between those 2, right? So we want to go ahead and switch over, and I'm going to go to the one on the opposite side because it's right in between them. And there we go. That works perfectly. And remember, we can go ahead, use our pencil, kind of shade over that. That way we will remember it when we go to slide the compass down to A. So you notice how when I move it, you can see it's still clearly marked. I slide the center down to point A. And from there, I'm going to create an arc that just comes out like this. So I'm just creating an arc. And what that means is any line segment that comes from A to this arc will have the same radius. It'll be the same length whether I put my point down here, out here, or up top. And it will also have the same radius as this line segment right here. So they'll be the same length, these 2 line segments will be, which fulfills the congruent aspect of this problem. Then I'm going to repeat this process, but I'm going to use AB instead. So I'm going to turn my paper, and I'm going to go ahead and place my compass on B, and I'm going to find the point that matches up with A. And it just so happens my first point matched up perfectly, but and I'm going to go ahead and mark that. But as you saw before, you might have to kind of work and figure out which one works best. So I find that point that does that, and then I slide my compass out to C, and carefully make sure it's on C. Hopefully you can see that it's on there. I put my pencil back in that correct spot for the radius, and I'm going to draw an arc just so that it intersects the one we just did. Alright, and so let me go ahead and write down these 2 steps. So step 1 was with center A, create an arc with a radius equal to segment BC. Alright, actually I shouldn't put that line at the top because I'm talking about the measurement, and when you talk about the measurement, we go ahead and we drop that symbol on top of there. So that's the part where we went ahead and I put my compass on B. I found this radius, which we found was right here, and I slid down, put my compass on A, and I drew that arc. Oh boy. Alright, so that's the part where I did this arc right here. Maybe I should just use my pencil so my hand doesn't get in the way. Now we're going to repeat that step, except we're just going to change out, instead of A, we're going to use C. So step 2, with center C, create an arc with radius, or with a radius, equal to, and in this case, see how it's over here is where we want to go. We want it to be equal to AB. All right, that was where we went ahead. We found this radius right here. And then once we found that, we came over, sat our compass on C, and we drew the arc that you see right here. These two clearly form a point, that point right here, and that point we will go ahead and just call it D, because that's what we've already called it when we did this part explaining what we need to do. And in that case, the only other step we have left is we go ahead and I'm going to do this in red pen, that way you can hopefully see what I'm trying to do and hopefully see what lines are new. So there's my new segment CD. Hopefully you can see that it is parallel to the other side, which is AB, and because this radius right here is the same as the length of this segment, they're the same length. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw this other segment. It really doesn't matter which one you do first, so if you're sitting here going, well, could I do AD first and then do CD? Yeah, that's fine. It's not going to matter at all. And what you end up with is a parallelogram. So need to go ahead and write down this final step, which you probably went ahead and figured out without me going over it. But we're going to just draw segments or construct segments. AD and CD. And now we have a parallelogram. Now we have a parallelogram that was created with two given sides, and all we did was create the other two using constructions. And it was simply by using the rules about radius having to be, if the radius is the same, we kept the same line or same length of the segment. So we were just copying a line segment. And like I said, there's a reason that if these are congruent and these two sides are congruent, then the opposite sides have to be parallel. That's something that we'll cover in the future. Just so you know, those things are, we'll be using triangle congruence, and we'll also be we'll use things like parallel lines, converse of the parallel lines theorem, so converse of alternate interior angles theorem, and things like that. So go ahead and show that if a parallelogram has opposite side, or if a quadrilateral, has opposite sides that are congruent, they will end up being parallel as well. So guys, I know I took about 13 minutes to explain this. I went a little further into detail than what I normally would, but that was because I'm not really there to answer your questions. Hopefully you guys see that. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and do this again on another sheet of paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this real quick and let you see what this would look like, just straight up from scratch, and maybe with something that looks a little different. So here, I'm going to make this a kind of a steep angle actually. So there, it's very acute. I don't know why I said the word steep. And of course we could say A, B, C. Our goal is to find that point D that'll be somewhere out here. Hopefully I left myself some room on this paper for this too, because if not, I'm going to be kind of upset. Can double check that real quick and just make sure, because first thing I'll go ahead and do is put my compass out here on B. I find that point that matches up with C. There we go. So that's that point out here. Slide up. And it's going to be close. Ooh, that's really close, but it works. Stayed on the paper, barely, but stayed on the paper there. And then we go ahead and put my compass on B, find out what point matches up with A. See that it'll be that point right here. And I'll go ahead, move that over to C. And there we go. So it's barely on there, but that point does still stay on my paper. And the last thing I need to do is just go ahead and, so this is point D. Try and make that look like a D instead of an O. So you got that segment from C to D, and you've got the segment from A to D. And there you go. So guys, as you can tell, this is really quick construction. It doesn't take much time to do. If you know what you're doing, it shouldn't even take you a minute to complete. But go ahead, practice this, and let me know if you have issues. Shoot me an email or whatever, so I know what steps I need to take to help you out. All right. Well, thanks a lot, and I hope this is helpful for you guys and that you get it pretty easy. All right. Have a good day, guys. Bye.